My name is Wayne, last name is Regl, and we live in North Florida, and we're between Jacksonville, Gainesville, and St. Augustine. And we know that basically when the Spanish came, they named the Florida La Florida because of all the flowers and all the all the vegetation, and so and it has changed since they have arrived. Basically, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take and look at some slides that will take us from from my viewpoint, and to understand the hive. Sometimes one has to go beyond the hive. So that's where we're going to start at, beyond the hive. We're going to go into the hive, look and see what we've done. And then we're going to go, if we have time, we're going to go some of the vegetation that we do have in Florida. And basically, I'll probably go a couple slides, stop, and then we'll probably maybe ask the question, what do you think? And try to get some feedback from everybody. Since I guess a picture's worth 1,000 words, we like to limit you to about maybe one sentence, because we do know that myself, I do not like to talk a whole lot, okay? But I know some of you people enjoy talking, and we can always talk after a while. I'd like to thank Mark and Ms. D for having me to do the presentation. This is my very first presentation, so I am an equal opportunity offender, so we will go from there. First slide, and I'm going to go probably a couple, and then we'll talk about what we've seen, okay? So please take a look, and look again. Let me back up one. Fast finger. Okay, now what have we seen? Just anybody want to take and what did we take a look at and see? Dirt. We saw dirt. Okay. Did we see some big machines? Okay. And we also see now, what do we see now? Flowers. Okay, what we've seen is the first couple slides was taken a few days before we came out to the conference. We live in North Florida. We have what's called a monoculture. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of acres planted in pine. And the process is we plant the pine close. It is a modified pine, not genetically engineered, but modified, through crossbreeding, etc. And the design of the pine is to grow quickly in 15 years. 15 years they harvest it, and then it ends up like the first couple slides, and the process is repeated again and again and again. And this is the field where they harvested the pines last fall. They did not plow it up and so on, and so what we ended up with is a wonderful patch of probably 20-some acres of a flower, and the bees would just loved it and were just on it. Now, it's not. Oh, by the way, if I didn't mention, the pine is used in basically 2 items, or maybe 3. Toilet paper, paper towels, and some of this like paper bags. So we have to have it.
So it's just pulp instead of wood?
It's, yeah, pulpwood, yes. This is the plant that was in the field, and there is a honeybee on the side of it there. This is known as what's the name? I forgot. It was
Dandy.
Oh, dandy, or else red root.
Red root?
Red root.
It's from the red root family.
Yeah, if you dig the plant up, the root is red. They used to make dye out of it. At least the Indians did. Okay, I'm going to ask the question. Does anybody know what that is? You do? Go ahead. Oh, I know you do.
Me, I'm sorry, I cheated.
You don't. You know what it is. Anybody ever see something like that?
Oh, come on.
Yes, you have seen it.
A small ground bee hive?
No, it's not. What's that?
Mud dauber?
No. What this is something that our bees will produce. And what they do is on the very bottom berg, they will take and entomb that little pest called the hive beetle. This is a hive beetle trap. You know, we have, in fact, the drones would hold them into that, and then they would seal them up. So that is a hive beetle trap. And when you inspect your hive, you might see that. This might be something that they do in, you know, in our location. So
is that wax or propolis?
that is actually like a combination of mud, propolis, you know, wax, you know. I haven't done a scientific investigation. Joe would probably like to do one of those, find out what it's made out of.
Maybe some samples.
We might be able to send you one.
I have to find somebody else.
Okay, cool. We all know what that is. That is a pygmy rattlesnake, and whenever you inspect your hive, make sure you know what's underneath. And we inspected the whole hive. You know, we had like a five deep box, and we inspected, did everything else, and then we got back and I said, "Oh, look, there's a rattlesnake." We didn't even know until the end, you know, until we saw it. But always know what's in your hive. Yes.
How dangerous are those?
Well, let's say you don't want to get bit. We know one person who got bit by it. She's into probably the 60s, 70s, probably close to the 70s now. She has no problems. So yes, and you know, it's not the big one. We had a big one in our yard, was about 16 foot long, but you know, that's a whole new different story.
She does have problems.
She still has problems with it.
It's an ongoing,
Yeah.
an ongoing chronic condition.
Yes, it is.
If you survive.
Yes.
Okay, that's a question I had. Is I've heard that people that get high sting counts in bee attacks also have some long-term effects that's similar to what you're referring to with some people's long-term effects from rattlesnake bites. And again, just think it over. If you have any anecdotal evidence or any stories, I'd like to hear them. As far as bee stings, you know, maybe hundreds and hundreds of stings, people who develop problems later, kind of like she has.
I would like to refer you to Don, you know, because he is the expert on that. There's Don there. I'm sorry, Don. My glasses are off. I'm nearsighted. This happens to be contributed to man. This is a poisoning. And I took another picture of it, but if I was able to blow that up, and you might be able to see it, one thing you will notice is that every bee's, their tongue is out. And a lot of the bees, they kind of, they're just like, they just go, just like, like a fetal position. And it was a devastation caused by man, a poison.
Sir, may I?
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
I want you to know that when there was a hive that was in the middle of other hives, the other hives had very small effects. I'm not sure why this one got this effect. Maybe they were working something different. We called our bee inspector. I said, "Won't you come out and won't you see it?" Because we'd had this before. And he diagnosed it as spring die-off. Unfortunately, this was it June or July?
About June or something like that.
Up in North Florida. So my spring had come and gone, and we were starting into the heat of our summer. So it was not a spring die-off because it was a virgin queen in that big shot that he showed me. So I know it wasn't a spring die-off, and we had new bees, not old bees. So I urge you to learn what those common terms are. And I let him go because I wasn't going to argue with him, but it happens, and that's where
yes, it does happen. And you know, please note that if you're in a location where they do spray, you know, be concerned. Okay, this is one of our boxes that's 5 deep. Now, the question is it a healthy hive or not? What do you think? And maybe why? Anybody?
Not enough information. What time of year is it?
Okay, this is in the summertime. Let's say maybe June, July.
And you're in Florida.
Yeah, we've already reached the build-up.
I would expect a lot more bees bearding on the outside on a day in Florida in the middle of summer, but for a strong, good colony.
So you would probably say it's an unhealthy hive.
Well, I'd say it's not. It's not thriving.
Yeah, it's not thriving. This is This is the hive that was poisoned the previous slide. What we have is we have bees that they've been devastated, and they're to the point. And so and you can see what this is the same hive. And I'm sure that if you've been in beekeeping long enough, you might have seen stuff like this. If you're new to beekeeping, we hope that you don't experience it. Okay, that would be one thing that I hope. But as a new beekeeper, and if you have experienced poisoning, that's only the first symptom. There's other things that go on beyond that.
So, question on that.
Yes.
That's a solid bottom board?
Yes, it is. Yeah, we use solid bottom board where we live. Okay, what we do. Most of the beekeepers do not. That's one of the things that make us different. And the other thing that makes us different is that we're striving for 4 and 5 deep hives. So that's an exception. I just can't wait until our inspector comes and we have, we don't have a lot of hives, but I'm hoping, that we'll have 6 hives, 3 deep, 4 deep, and 5 deep. And I just love to see his expression when he comes.
So I have a question.
Yes.
When the hive is closed, do you do anything to clean the hives, or what do you do?
Well, what we've done is, we have some pictures later on, but basically what we would do is we try to go in and save what we can. And then there's some other things that goes on beyond just this here with some other problems that does happen. But we try to move them. We try to clean out what we have, and and basically we will take and feed, an open feed with the remaining what's left still in there, and so that's the process that we did.
What's your reasoning behind using solid bottom boards as opposed to?
What our reason is, I would have to refer you to my wife for that. She's, she would probably be able to tell you better.
One, I followed these methods, which she recommended solid bottom boards, so that's where I started out. 2, I don't want things dropping through all the time. We attract enough ants as it is, and so the smaller ants can get through that. They can get in the entrances. But I want we also have carpenter ants. And if they ever make their way through that screening into the hive, they still brood at night. So we have to be able to see that. And to do that, he goes out at night with a flashlight and checks the outside of the hives to see if there's carpenter ants already targeting the hive. And if you have screening under there, you can get we had raccoons in the yard the other day. We saw a snake. There's any number of things that can come up through that screening if you don't watch it. And I didn't want to have to watch it. The other thing is I figure if they have a solid bottom board, it's one of my things that I look to try and see how are they keeping things clean, because that's just a vital importance, especially if you're trying to reduce the bees in size down to 4.9.
Yeah, and so this slide you can see further results of what happens in a hive that has been devastated. The process is, the process was poison, then additional things beyond. So it's a multiple faceted way of a hive destroyed. But it was a 5 deep hive, and then it ends up,
And we also reduced that in size. It was 5 deep. I think we reduced it in size 2 different times, and they still could not recover.
Yeah. This is our carpenter ants, and basically what they will do, and some of these ants, these are big as bees. Okay, they're as big as a small cell, a small bee. They go into the hive at nighttime. They will cut the legs off the bees, and they will steal the eggs. And and they're pretty bad because and you think about it, whenever they steal eggs, they take they take an egg, they take another egg, they take another egg, and pretty soon the bee said, "Wait a minute, what's wrong with the queen?" And so we have the problem of the bees said, "Oh, well, we got to make new queens now." And it's and then you're looking at the time element, and so it's just downhill. I do have what I do is I try to take and find carpenter ants. Now I destroy them. I don't want them around the hive. That's to an extent without with the poisoning from man, and then the carpenter ants. And then at that point, so I have a little PVC pipe tool that I use, and I go and hunt the ants, and the method I use is pound, pound, pound. And that's what I use. It's effective. It takes a lot of stress out of me. This is what we do with the whenever we come across that's a devastated hive. And notice the color of our bees. There's several colors on there, and they're getting what they need to do, and they will take that and put it into the hive. Any questions?
Yeah, what is pounding on the carpenter with a PVC pipe?
Oh, what I do is okay. I got a PVC pipe with a handle and a T, and then when I find me a nest of carpenter ants, I kind of just make sure that things are cleared away, and then I just take and I pound and pound until they are dead.
How does that pounding kill the ants?
Oh, how does it kill the ants? Okay, the ants are on bare soil, and the pounding actually causes the soil to compact, and so that's basically what happens. It's effective.
So you're destroying their tunnels?
I'm destroying the ant nest.
Okay, so the ants are on the bare ground and on the surface?
Most of them will come up to the surface, and if you get 90% of the ants, then you're okay. In fact, I've even had ants, carpenter ants close by, and I've actually had bees come out and help me to try so they distinguish the fact that you're there to help them. And it's amazing to see a bee to come down, trying to do their best to help you out. Now we also know that a carpenter ant, like bees, they have scent, and they will mark that box, which means that if you move that box, the same box, the scent is there, the ants will come to it. So if you have a carpenter ant problem, you want to put a new box. Take the old box, away totally, in storage or someplace else. The ants will mark that box, they will come to that box, they will find it. If you haven't found it. Yes?
Can you explain this slide again? Are you saying that you give the honey, you let the other bees rob out the honey from the poison colony?
Well, basically what we find out is that the poison's done its damage, and basically the honey is okay, the pollen's okay, but it's just basically it will kill the the bees that has been into it.
So you feed?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes, we do. We do feed the bees, you know.
Wait,
Yes.
have you tried any treatments? Like, somebody told me, I heard in one of our meetings at the club, was that they used, what is it, some corn product to prevent the carpenter ants? 'Cause we get them too by us a lot.
Well, you know,
Corn meal is what somebody told me.
I've tried grits at the moment, and it didn't seem to be effective.
Yeah, corn
Okay. And I know that we've tried, you know, vinegar spray on them, ineffective. Okay, so the best way I found out is, but you might be able to find something yourself to do it. The best thing is to find where the ants are located at, and then try to move, whatever is there away from them. That's my solution. Another thing that we have, this happens to be,
Oh, Robert fly.
yeah, it's like like a dragonfly, and predator. Yes, bees do have it. I'm not sure if you can see it or not. It's very well camouflaged. Probably not, but way up in here is a green spider. Well, actually, it's right over here. Green spider's right here. See, I couldn't even see it. Close by. But it has got itself a bee. So you always have insects that will, catch a bee. And it's kind of cool to see a bee, but it's just like, oh, well, this is part of nature, part of life and death. And so that's the cocoon there. Later on, that will be food for the spider and continuation with the life. When you come across inspecting your hive, don't be surprised because there's all kind of critters living there. And it's, oh, look what's there? And so, yep, that's one of the, and this is probably a beneficial one because you do have some beneficial insects and spiders and other things that will actually live in the hive that will help you. Looks pretty healthy to me, but we never seem to get a bee. Okay, so it's getting other things beside the bee. And even on on handles or some places where you have an indentation, you might find something living there. So if you do happen to go into it without any hand protection, then there's a chance that you might get bit. But I found out that if you have a spider bite, the best thing that works for me is to cut an onion, put an onion on there and tape it up, and it works very well. Little tip. Yeah, this is, we quite frequently find scorpions, around our hive, underneath the top, the cover and so on like that. And so you do find some other critters there.
Does something eating them?
Actually, these are all baby scorpions. The mother scorpion with baby scorpions there. Yeah, kind of a cool picture there, And now I have been stung by a scorpion, and it just feels like a wasp thing, Yes.
Here in Arizona, there is a bark some kind of scorpion. It's a little green one, and they're pretty potent. Bark. Yeah, bark scorpion. And also, I don't know if yours do this. Probably they do, but like I take a flashlight, a black light, and if you go out at night, they glow, and so you can.
Oh, cool! I have to try that one day.
It's fun.
Yeah, bioluminescent or whatever, glow in the dark. Cool. This was taken after the hurricane of this year that hit Florida. This is actually when it went down, because originally, and we might want to consider where location where you live, how you adjust your hive. But during the hurricane, the water was up to about here. Okay, so And we have known some people who've actually, their hives were not high enough, and so did have water inside here. There have been some in down South Florida where the water was way up high. Okay, and so we were very fortunate to the fact that, and we did strap them down. And somebody asked us the question, you know, what about the bees if they, you know, are you concerned about the bees if the bees have tipped over? And I think my wife's reply was, if the bees were tipped over, then we're probably gone. You know. So, but they are very, you know, we had no problem. In fact, during the wind, whenever the wind just had a little bit of a break between the bands, I went out and the bees were out. So the bees, you know, and the bees were actually out there, you know, when the wind was, you know, maybe, you know, we're looking maybe 30 miles per hour sometimes. They're out there doing some things. So, you know, go out, you know, it's pretty cool. I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but there is something right there. They're doing something. It's a bad picture, you know, and maybe I can have maybe the next one will clear it up to the, oh, no, okay, let me go back to this one. Maybe not. Yeah, this happens to be a bumblebee that got in their way, and we had, the bees actually went back, they cured it, and then they, you know, dragged it off, you know, and so on. Although, during a hurricane, there is, something goes on, because we have, I've seen insects that normally they will, you know, say you can't come in, they actually will share the hive, and for the safety, for the safetiness. So there's something that goes on that I have no idea, you know how they distinguish that. But we had, you know, we had a couple of bumblebees actually go into the hive during the hurricane, and when the time was them to exit, they left without any problem at all. But on this occasion, summertime, the bumblebee tried to get in, and it didn't make it. They did not, you know, didn't take the room they like to leave. We don't do this anymore. Well, to an extent we do. Sometimes we do. And any idea what we did?
Paper towel?
Yeah, that was a paper towel. And basically, what I guess you know, we had a new hive, and we you know, my wife put some pollen down and some honey on there, right, and put it on top, you know, on top of the frame. And then, you know, we cover it up and everything, and then later on they, you know, they chew it up and then they drag it out. But, you know, this is a method that some people do use. We don't do that.
Why don't you do that anymore?
We do it, but not as great. I think, you know.
You want to answer that?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Well, you saw the 5D. One of the first things that we did last spring, before we took honey, we put 3 frames of honey on each side of the brood nest in 4 of those 5 boxes. Maybe we did all 5 boxes, I'm not quite sure. So what they had was all their food there that apparently lasts almost through winter. Now then, after we stuffed them with honey on all sides with 3 frames of honey, then we were able to take honey off the tops. We were bad and we didn't leave them camp. We should have, but we didn't. But to justify what we did, when we went in to do our first check after our cold weather, we had hives still with the same honey on the sides. I could tell because it was that wonky, wet capping. And we didn't need to feed. That was we were split, and I kept thinking, I gotta, you know, we mix honey and pollen, and we stick it on the paper towel and stick it on those baby hives. They're only, what, 1 or 2 boxes deep, and it hurts them because they don't have enough foragers to go out and keep themselves fed. So that is the method we were using.
Yep.
when we started cleaning out a hive, then that's when that we opened feed like that.
And there's my wife, and she's inspecting the hive. You know, just beginning, and we all have methods, different methods of, you know, suiting up and so on. We did something at the, you know, because it's sunny outside, we put a cover on, and then so what I do is we had an old drape, and I just, you know, if I wanted to work on the frames on the right hand side, I just, you know, moved a little bit and so on. It seemed to calm the bees down. So that's, you know, that's one method that we did use. You might have seen stuff like this as a new beekeeper, or if you got a swarm of bees in. I call it crazy comb. You know, they just come in. We got big comb here, small comb here, different type of comb here, and so on. And it's this wacko comb, and you might have come across that. And as a beekeeper, you probably have seen stuff like that. I think what we pretty well do with it, sometimes we're using it as a swarm trap, or you know, or sometimes you might use it just to melt down. And notice they had that. They did have some up in here. So you know, they added honey and so on up in there. So they will. Bees make use of what they have. And you can see some of the Ys and so on. So different view of comb. And we can see the, you know, large comb up on top, smaller comb down below, and some people got, you know, from like transition from one, you know, or it could be drone comb, some of it. Please stop me if you have any questions.
You're using foundationless frames and stuff?
No, we have foundation.
Okay,
we use foundation.
Rework the foundation to put drones.
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, we use now some at the beginning we tried. Without foundation, and you know, we found out that does not function as well, you know, for us. So we you know, use the small foundation. What we've done, just the wax. Yes.
I don't know. On my hives, I've noticed that they kind of leave the Y alone on where the brood is, or where they go up, where they put honey up above. I've seen that Y get rotated. Different directions, like they're reworking it. I don't know what the design or plan is, but they might be making the cells bigger and then they rotate that Y, which is.
But you know that's why they're bees and we're not. You know, they know what they're doing. You know, I have no idea. Somebody else might know. You know what they do.
I think.
Yes.
I think what we're seeing is some of the older stuff. When bees transition, when they're going from larger bees and you're trying to get them to go to smaller bees. If you have anything other than honey supercell, things they can't rework, you're going to get that. If you have wax in there, you're going to get that. Because when we're getting swarms in, there are a multitude of nations, really. Because we've seen everything from small black bees to, you know, crazy colored bees, and they're various and sundry sizes. So when they're in that transition, from going to larger cell bees to smaller cell bees, I think there must be a little disagreement on what we're doing because it's just a little crazy looking. And we try to get, as soon as we get them down, you can start seeing there's more cooperation and uniformity in how they build out things. And so I think that's maybe part of what you're seeing. That's what I think I see.
And you know, new comb, and you know, you can see the new comb is usually white, so you know we do have that. And there's our one of our queen cells that we have that we saw. Oh yes, this is what we always like to see. Capped honey. Capped honey. Oh, and there's our queen. And I'm not sure if we still have that queen or not, but she's on the honey supercell, and so she took to it. Sometimes they do not.
Does everybody see the queen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did everybody see it?
Yeah, if I can go back. Yeah, there she is. She's up. Go over here. And they are lined up doing an inspection. It's pretty cool. And they're on the, we do have the, we have our honey supercell, then we have our frames with the small cell on it. And so that's what we pretty well do. We do have some drones. You can see that there's one here, one over here. And sometimes they get quite, as far as the drones, we notice that our drones are quite big compared to the worker bee. I'm not sure if yours are as big as just like like they've been lifting weights or something. I don't know, but they are quite big as opposed to the worker bee.
So you keep it up there. So in that picture, I think the drones are quite easy to see, but I've gone into hives where it's very difficult to see the drone. The abdomen kind of looks more rounded, but you're not terribly sure. But one of the ways that I use to teach kids about how to see where the drone is, if you look at this drone here, look at his eyes. The eyes at the top, they touch. But if you look at this worker bee over here, the eyes don't touch. There's a gap in between. So I'm teaching them more now to look at the eyes to tell me it's the drone or not, rather than look at the back of the bee, because my bees, it's not that distinctive.
Yeah, we found out that in our case, for some reason, the queen does these big drones, so.
I have a question about drone comb. So is drone comb, is the cell size always bigger, or can the cell size be the same and then they build the cap out taller? Because I seem to see like the same small cell, but with really rounded dome-shaped caps.
Oh, Solomon?
In a queen-ride hive, the drones will almost always be bigger. In my opinion, you'll find one that'll be smaller. In a hive that's gone queenless, terminally queenless, and they're laying eggs in worker cells and turning them into drones, sometimes you have a more smaller drone. But generally, drones are always bigger if everything's done.
The cells.
But she's talking about when a queen lays a drone cell in a worker cell, which happens a lot. And it usually happens when queens are going bad. If you see a lot of those in the center of a brood frame, then you might have an issue. But seeing one or two isn't a big deal.
Yeah, one or two rarely is fine. When you see a lot of smaller drones, that's when there's a problem.
So, Kelly, when you ask two beekeepers for an answer, you may get three answers.
That's right.
Beekeepers, you get three different answers.
But we all agree that they're all drones.
What I see in my cells is if I've got natural comb in there, where the bees are brought out, then I would see a separate comb or separate section that's larger cell size.
Yeah.
But in the frames that are all got foundation in them, my bees, all small bees, they will put drones in that foundation and just make them deeper. They'll put a big top on it, but the diameter still remains the same.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why I battle to see where the drones are in my hives, because they're almost the same diameter as the workers.
I've got one hive that had, it had both, that had bigger comb where I knew they were drone brood, and then there was the smaller comb, worker comb, with just the really domed caps.
So what I also notice is my worker brood's capping is usually a brownish color, whereas my drone capping is usually a golden.
Right.
Because they had to add more wax on top of it to bring it forward.
And they will build larger cells in drones that are honey cells.
Yes.
That are, they could blade drones in them in theory, but a lot of times it's just because there's a heavy honey flow. And they're building large cells to do it quickly to store more honey. So there's kind of this gradient between worker and drone and honey, and there's no, I don't think there's a definite line in every hive.
And yeah, you can see, some of the drone cell. Cap a little bit. And we do love our drones. And if I could blow it up, but you can actually see the, when we do blow it up, you can just different stages of the bee.
Can I say something
Yes.
there at that picture too?
Absolutely.
I want you guys to comment on the fact it's not even. It's not a spread even sort of thing. So if you looked at that comb, would you say I have a problem in that hive?
Monotonous of the brood?
Yes.
You need to see more of the frame, I'd say.
I'd have to look in the cells, kind of get a better feel for it, but it would make me suspicious that I need to look for it.
Okay, that's what I was.
That's kind of spotty there.
The only other thing I was thinking is maybe they had been cleaning off Varroa. That picture, I don't know which hive it's from to know whether they've finished going through transition or not. Because we have, when the swarms that come in go through transition, there are pests. Now we haven't had any problem with Varroa mite, which everybody screams about in our area. But we do have a problem with small hive beetle. But I don't know if it's because they're able to start cleaning and picking Varroa out of their brood or not, but we've not seen Varroa.
Well, let's talk about some of the things that help you decide why it's like that.
Okay.
If they're doing what you're saying, which is they're removing Varroa, then you probably see a lot of bald-headed brooding there where they're taking the caps off, but they didn't pull the larva out yet. And that would indicate that probably what they're doing is chewing out the Varroa.
Okay.
I would look in those cells too. You might see signs of AFB or you might see signs of EFB in there. If they have EFB, then they'll be removing a lot of larva that's diseased and they may be empty, or you may probably find some of them that still is infected and has EFB. If it's AFB, you'll probably see some pierced cells and some sunken cappings, and sometimes it tricks you look to it, but it'll string if you stick a stick in there or whatever. It'll almost always string if it's still gooey. If it's not gooey, then it'll be, let's see, the bright grayish colored stuff in the bottom of the cell. So I'd be looking closer in those cells to see what I see. Is that where I think they're chewing out Varroa, in which case I'd expect to see some old brood, or if I see some dried up black stuff in there, then it's probably AFB, or I see some brownish, gooey, melting larva that's not capped yet, that's probably EFB, so on. I'm looking for these other things, because all I can see from here is that there isn't caps on them, and I don't know what's in the cell.
And if I do remember right, it just looked like empty cells. It looked like there were not things in every cell. And we had not seen a lot of brood drag out.
Yeah, that recently.
Quite often when you get spotted brood like that, and you don't have any sign of any disease, and you don't have any sign that they're chewing out Varroa, then you have an inbred queen. Because if the queen is bred too closely to her related drones, then the sex allele, if the sex alleles match up, in other words, it's the same on both sides, from the queen and from the drone, and match up, and it makes a diploid drone. And the bees don't like diploid drones, they just remove all the eggs. So the other thing is you have a queen that's failing, and she's starting to lay drone eggs because she doesn't have enough sperm to fertilize the egg. And they remove it because it's a drone egg in a worker cell. So all those are possibilities. That's just it. There's not just one reason that can cause that. But if you look at the cells, from what you're saying, where they're perfectly clean, there's no disease, no signs for chewing out Varroa, then I'd probably be thinking that there's a good chance that it's an inbred.
Yeah,
which would be odd considering.
Yeah, comment?
One more thing I'd add to what Michael was saying. When you have over-mongrelized bees, I'm talking 3, 4, 5-way crosses, where everybody's getting different bees that they like, was told to by the local clubs and universities to see what they want to keep and do and work with. Bees are like other animals in that in each place of the hive, Caucasian bees lay in different spots than Carniolan bees, lay in different spots than Italian bees. When you hybridize them, the bees want their own particular spot, like for spawning with different types of, say, salmon, for instance. And at certain times of the year, when, like main flows, when they can do all and requeen if they have to or anything else, they fight for dominance who's going to control the hive. You'll get different types of subcasts fighting with the others and shooting out the others' eggs and young larvae, so they have control. So that comes their time of the year for mating and doing what they have to, they take over the hives. And that's something that's not talked about.
So the possibility is, because we have such a variety of bees coming in, they have to go through another type of transition to get more uniform.
Yeah, that's where getting uniformity back with nature and acclimatizing means a lot, because they're not fighting inside the hive, they're out working, getting the food, the nectar, the propolis and that they have to for a living, rather than fighting like over in the Mideast right now, who's going to control the area.
Yeah, Joe?
So I have a hive that looks like this every summer. And what I look for first, I look down in those cells and see what's going on. Usually I look down in those cells and I'll see eggs here and there, kind of scattered, and I'll see larvae in those cells. Right there, so all the cells are full of something, but they're all different stages. This same queen, early in the season, will have full frames, all capped, or full frames, all eggs. But I'll have 12 to 15 frames that look like this, stacked 2 or 3 high. That queen is working all these frames in some pattern that doesn't match what the typical beekeeper expects. Typical beekeeper expects that queen to start on one frame and to fill it up completely, and then go to the next frame and fill it up completely, and then go to the next frame and fill it up completely. And when the hive is small in the spring, it does that, right? I can see that. But in the middle of summer, when the brood nest is expanded over 3 deep boxes, 5 or 6 frames each box, the queen doesn't do it that way in my observation. She's filling every cell, and she's rear and brood at capacity. She just isn't doing it the way we expect. And so I don't see it as a problem with the queen. It's just the way she lays.
It's the workers controlling how the queen lays, because how she's fed and who is her court is where she is laying.
Well,
the court changes because the types of bees change throughout the year.
And that's fine.
Controlling the dip pattern.
And I can't disagree with that, but what I'll say is, as long as my queen is laying at capacity, and I've got a strong hive able to take care of all that brood, I don't care if she lays all in one frame first and then moves to the next. Because
doing their thing,
they're doing great. And so think about the time of year, look in the cells, and see what you see in those other cells to try and determine if it's a problem or if it's just a phenomenon.
You can see, we just talked about the different varieties of bees. Okay, we got black bees, we got, there's just a variety of bees, and a lot of times we do have this. We have bees that look like this, we got bees that look like that, we got bees that look like something else. And so, like I say, we have a lot of different type of bees, and it's like, oh, in fact, we even had one that was a bright orange drone, even, so completely, so so we do have lots of transition bees, where we're area. The area we live is a transition zone, so we see different types of bees at different types of during the year. This is something different, and they're always on. This is on our supercell, and a closer up picture, and you can see that we do have stuff in this in the cells and so on.
Are those those workers whose eyes appear to be touching?
Which one?
That circle right there?
Up in this area?
Yeah.
They are doing stuff. You know, we got, you know, and sometimes we find out that, they say, well, what are they doing? And the answer is to me is, I have no idea, but they're doing a bee thing. And, you know, they may be doing some type of communication, you know, I have no idea.
So,
yes,
they're definitely workers. It's probably a reflection of the light that makes it look like the eyes are touching. The shape of the worker is scientific on the drone.
Yep. Anybody see that? Have you come across that? You know, in your beekeeping.
Between boxes?
Yeah. And the frames.
Frames, yeah.
And the frames.
Between boxes.
Yeah, you know, we found out on the top of the frames is where we find them at. Yes.
So I noticed on your previous pictures you had that as well. I was going to comment there, but what I would say to you is this bee space between the two boxes is not correct, which is causing them to lay that. And I pick it up with my hardware. If I'm buying hardware from two different suppliers, it's going to be two different dimensions. So my advice to beekeepers is stick to one supplier, then at least you know all boxes are going to be the same size. Because that tells me your space between is wrong.
One
It's
of the
because it's
things-
using plastic.
One of the things that we found is we got the same supplier, bought the boxes from the same supplier, we've assembled it. But there was a change in quality from the first time we picked up equipment to the last time we picked up equipment. We had warping where Wayne and his miracle woodworking had to unwarp boxes or try to get them as close as he could to being square. And we also found that, yes, we need, I think some of them, I remember mentioning, we need to plane just a bit to lower them. They're not consistent because I think they changed the people in their shop who did the cutting of the boxes, which is going to have us reconsidering what we're going to be doing with boxes from now on. The other part that we had issue with, we found that our honey supercell, and that's how part of we knew the dimensions changed, our honey supercell would not fit consistently through the boxes. He's going to have to either modify those, or the boxes, or the honey supercells. That was Rossman. And I really like the cypress because with our area, well, you saw how good it was. With our area, we need the cypress. But you know, we're going to extra expense by going out of state to get that.
Yeah, Dee, I think, did you have something to say, Dee? I thought you...
Well, I was saying is depending on the manufacturer, the thickness of 2x4s changes. The thickness when you working with your different blades and stuff for cutting changes.
Yeah.
And you have to match your length stroke spacing so you don't have that going on. And yet beekeepers used to make their own equipment, but they don't want it taught because then it's less sales for the ones that are selling, that are bringing in equipment from the cheapest places they can buy anymore, and everything fluctuates year to year.
I've almost never seen it where it's the space here that's the problem. It's almost always the thickness of the top bars. There's almost no top bar here. They will almost always connect these when there's a really thin top bar. And your honey supercell has no top bar. It's got cells all the way to the top. And they will almost always build it between the two because there's no... And this is all documented by Miller back in the 1880s, early 1900s. But the thickness of this top bar has everything to do with whether or not they build a comb in between this frame and this frame.
Well, it's thickness of bottom bar too.
I'm not saying that bee space, yes, thickness of the bottom bar too. And I'm not saying bee space couldn't be an issue, but I find it usually isn't. Usually the spacing's fine. The other thing that contributes is if you're using worker foundation, they don't have any drone comb anywhere, they're desperate to build it somewhere. And if there's nowhere else to build it, they'll build it between the frames.
No, they won't, not if it's spaced right, and I've proven that to people. It's proper spacing.
But yours has plenty of drone comb. You leave a gap down here, there's plenty of drone comb here. So they'll have a reason to build it. You gave them the space.
But the bees, if they want to, in this worker group, they'll chew out corners and spots just to get drone comb. And they'll rework it and change it. That's no problem.
Well, yes, they will work to change it somewhat, but I think it is somewhat a problem, because otherwise they would, as soon as you give them an empty frame, they'll build a whole bunch of it because they couldn't. It's too much work to chew it out. It's much easier just to build them than
Hive,
just to
they
take it out.
can do it within 24, 48 hours. It's no big deal.
Wayne, I see this.
What's that?
They're not tall.
I see this all the time when I have plastic frames in a box and wooden frames on top of that box. That's when I see it most frequently. So look for that kind of pattern.
Well, you know, this was not chewed out. This was no, we we lifted off the off the not the top, not the top, but the
inner cover.
Yeah, we lifted up the inner cover, and that's what happened. So it was built between the inner cover and the in the frame.
Okay, yeah. So see if there's a pattern between the wood frames and the plastic frames.
There is, because there is an issue there, because the space is not consistent.
So the question is, if you can, what type of bee? Can anybody see? They have long antennas. The antennas are very long.
Looks like a drone.
If you're under boot, they're almost bigger than what our normal drones are.
That's a lot of it.
Yeah.
And these, we like to see lots of bees, and we're beginning to see it now. And we definitely like to see lots of bees. Everybody would love to see lots of bees. And we do have some unique cells here. And you've probably seen those and have an idea what's going on. Anybody want to comment?
I get queen cups all the time, but they never, they usually don't put anything in them. It's like they're building in anticipation or something.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a cat queen cell.
Yeah, usually, like I said, I get queen cups sometimes, but I've never seen them put an egg in there, and cap it or anything. Like I said, I think it's almost like they're there for to get ahead of it if they think the queen's staying. Yeah.
Solomon, earlier you were talking about cutting out the queen cells and putting them to split your hives. Would you totally cut through that comb or just slice off the surface of the comb?
So on this one here, you can see the wires right there. So you're going to want to avoid that wire, so you cut as high to that wire as you can. Give it a good berth around. That one's pretty good to go. This one's right on the wire, so if you're making loops, this would be the one that you want to leave on the frame and make that part of the loop. This one, you could probably get off of it if you cut that the wire level. And some people will have no problem with just cutting the wire. It depends on what you want to do with your frames. Once the comb's all built up, you can cut the wire and it should be fine. This one, it's not connected to the bottom, so you might not want to cut the wire yet.
Okay.
But yeah, there's options there.
Yeah, that's probably better pictures. You can see the option that on this one here. Wires up in here. It's connected down. Propolis. And I know as far as a combination of what it is, Joe would probably know better than I would be. They're going to be gathering, sap from the pine tree where we live at, and resin saps and so on.
Different trees. They get a lot of it from poplar buds. If you have poplars in your area, I've seen them collected from some buds on even plants around the house and stuff. It's gonna, before a flower opens up, there's often this waxy.
Yeah, we will see that.
Cuticle-looking shiny stuff on the outside of the bud. And there are even plants that if a bee doesn't come along and help open them up, they have trouble opening them. It's plant resin.
Yes.
Also, it tends to be from something in the poplar family. You'd be surprised how many things are in the poplar family. Think of aspen trees are in the poplar family, and cotton trees are in the poplar family. So look at it.
Well, what we do with ours, we take into the little when we buy the top, you know, they have a little hole in it. So we basically screen that over, and then the bees will propolis it up. Unpropolis, you know, depending on the weather, you know. So this is what we find out that they do where we live at. Some people won't do that, but we, you know, that's one thing that we do.
We had recommended that you not have the handhold, but we had, or whatever, bee escape. And we had bought, I don't know how many before, and so what we did was, we just said, you know what, we're going to screen this off, we'll see what the bees want to do.
Yep.
Because it was too big for a big blob of propolis, I guess. And after we did that, they definitely propolised it in. Some did not, but most of them later on did completely cover that hole.
And you know, and I know, and I do believe that the fact that you have a big opening in there someplace, and you know, it's like an invitation sometimes for some other pest possibly to, you know, to find its way in.
Yeah, we do have ants.
This is the beginning of this was, I think, in February, you know, well, January, you know, between January and February, we have, you know, our bees begin their orientation. And we have some bees that will climb up the box and then fly, you know, some will climb up and some will climb down. They, you know, they do just strange things, you know, when they orientate. And so this is the beginning of them, you know, coming out and so on. And it's always cool to watch the orientation, you know, it's relaxing. Michael, you probably, you know, recognize time, you know, summertime, it gets hot, okay? We thought it was that too. And so it's like, wow, look, it's hot outside. Look, the bees are out, you know? Is this too hot inside? And they got more bees coming out. So man, it must be really hot, all right? So it's like, wow, because I'm hot, they've got to be hot. And they're even underneath, way underneath here even, you know, we've got bees coming all over the place. And they didn't come back in. And so, you know, sometimes, but the good news is that they're going to take and help the surrounding area. You know, hopefully they will find a home. They'll remember us and they'll come back. But they will also, you know, the population, the repopulation is definitely vital to have that happening. You know, you don't have to get all the swarms. You know, it might make you cry a little bit. You know, I climb up on the roof, cut down a branch to get one. You know, and the other one I'm trying like, oh, let me try to throw something up and then try to get it down, and then later on you hear this. Then off they go. And so and that was big. This is one that came in to, so, you know, we have a plastic box, and what was interesting about this is that during the time of the day, the bees would move from one location to the next, and from one location to the next. They would just move at different areas, and what we believe is that they placed the queen inside, and then they were kind of regulating heat for it. And it did go into one of our boxes, not the box we wanted it to go into, but it did go into a box, one that we were not prepared. So, you know, as beekeepers, make sure that you that you have preparation. You know, empty boxes without you know, frames or something, you know, the bees will go into it anyway. You know, if you have, sometimes they go into places they want to, you know. So we are now much more prepared than in the past. This is another orientation, and so it is our beginning to be our peak. You know, we begin our season in January. You know, they begin building up probably late December, and so we're much way ahead as far as build up. Anybody see this? A picture of this? Has anybody seen this? I can give you a hint. The queen. These are all drones. No. They're all drones.
Where's the queen? We need to see the queen. I know. We know there's a queen in the middle somewhere. We think there's a queen in the middle somewhere.
There's a queen right there.
Do you see her?
I see her. Everybody else sees her now too, brother. She's right there. There's her abdomen.
Yeah.
See her long abdomen.
That's it.
Also, yep.
Yeah.
And
Those aren't drones, those are all workers.
They're all
One
workers.
queen.
what's that? Yeah, yeah, they're all drones. And then you have to blow it up. They're all drones.
No, those aren't drones. Those aren't drones. Those are workers.
Those are workers.
The queen, there's a queen there and a bunch of workers. I don't see a single drone.
Oh.
You might have been thinking of different
Trying to see if I see any drones, but I don't see them yet. Well, that one might be a drone. Right
What
there.
about the one above it?
That one might be a drone, yeah. Yeah, there are some drones in there. Now that I'm up close enough to, from back there you can't see their eyes, you know?
Right.
But look at the pointy abdomens on some of these, you know? But you're right, some of those are drones, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, what happened is that this is on a five deep box, right? And then out of nowhere, you know, all of a sudden here comes these. They're like bam, and you know, and they're like, what are they doing there? Because
we had accidentally taken our queen with our split and put it across the way, and they searched the yard looking for their queen, had found their queen, but that isn't their queen. They made another one because they harassed us for 6 weeks until this one came in, till they got a queen, till they made their other queen.
This is a young queen.
Yeah, that's a new queen, yeah.
yeah. Don?
You know, lots of times, if these girls are unhappy with their queen, they'll send her packing with a handful of bees. And
possibility?
down the road,
Possible?
raise a new one.
That's you know,
That's
that's possible. No
But
idea.
we do know we made that 5 deep queenless.
Yeah, it was a unique picture that we had an opportunity to take. You know, so. These are some of the plants that they love. This is African blue basil. If you have an opportunity in your area, bees love African blue basil. You know, so we're trying. You know. You could probably call us a beekeeper plus a gardener, because what we're trying to do, we don't have a lot of acreage. We have 3/4 of an acreage. And so what we do is we're converting our grass into bee-friendly plants. So also I don't like to cut grass a lot, so that's enough, something to think about. Yes?
Don't stop him?
I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
11 o'clock.
It's 11 o'clock.
We're good. Well, you know, we're good. We can stop anytime you're ready.
How many slides do you have left?
I don't have no idea, but you know, if we like to stop, we can stop. But
No, I don't think anyone wants to stop.
no, okay. We thank you then. Appreciate it. Here we got something unique that we've seen. Talk about communication with bees. You know, they are doing something up there that they do. You got 4 bees there conversing on there, and I have no idea, but they are doing something.
Bee business, yeah.
I think they're secretly plotting something, and hopefully it's good. We hope. Another flower. This is a blanket flower where we live. You may have them in your area, or you may have different types of plants that we don't even we cannot grow. But although it's unique that where we are, depending on the month, we can grow plants that's grown in northern Arizona. We can grow plants that's from South Florida. It depends on what's there. And the bees will just they're hey, they see, oh there's one, bang, got it. And, this is one of my favorite plants. This is a coral bell, and it's a native Florida plant, and it blooms when the bees need it. You have to have a plant during the dearth, And this is one of them that, you know, that it's a vine plant, so it just grows and the bees will be all over it, which is, you know, and hopefully we will have established many, you know, much more of that. Spring plants, well, springs come out, and so we have small little daisy-like type plants coming out. Always look and see what, you know, what you can find out there, because you know, bees are amazing. When you think there's a plant out there, and they say, oh, well, they're not on it, but they're supposed to be on it, why not? Because they found something else that's probably they need and a lot more of it. In the winter time, we have, this is actually related to the Chinese family, you know, I guess, you know, the cabbage family. This is baby bok choy. Mm-hmm. And so we do have bees visit it. And this is a manipulated picture, by the way. This is a drone. My wife found a drone, right, crawling around. So she picked it up and she put it on there and said, it's wow, you know, just, you know, look at that. And so it's kind of cool. We can always come and say, you know, our drones, they don't have to be fed, they find their own food. So that's a manipulated picture there. We, you know. If you have pumpkin or something similar, you know, to pumpkin, such as zucchini and some other plants, bees are there. This is the case. This is a seminar pumpkin, and the seeds, you know, seeds that the whole plant has been given like about 200 years old. So we know that the seeds has been passed along that year at a time. But they just go around and around, and we end up with pumpkins. You need to make sure that you have a, you know, that you have some place where they have water. Water is vital for bees, and so if there's water, they will go and find it. And so if you don't have any water nearby, you might want to take and think about creating something where they can go. If not, they may go to your neighbor's swimming pool. This is not, you know, it's not probably say, well, the bees are over there, you know, cause a problem. Hatfield and McCoy. Communication to bees. Are they passing food? Are they giving directions? This was in like December. And we have a hummingbird feeder, and so it kind of frosted a little bit, thawed out a little bit. When it thaws out, the bees go out there and say, hey, look at that, moisture. This is a close-up of our coral vine plant. It is a young bee. You can tell by the, unlike me, it's not bald. And primrose, if you like, you know, primrose plant that has, bees like to, they always like it. This is, I don't understand why it's on this plant at all. This is a sand spur. Whether it's gathering something, moisture or something else, we have no idea, but it was there. And getting something that I don't know, but apparently the bee knows what it wants. And bees will create their own hole if they don't like it. You know, it's like, oh, you're messing up the box. Yes, they have a reason why they want to do that.
Yeah, they can chew through wood.
They will. They love to chew through wood.
It takes
and
they can do it.
They do. They do. And say, hey, wait a minute. Yes, they're doing the bee thing. This is our primrose, 2 bees on it, and you can see, if you can see, they're exchanging. Thumbs up on one. So, you know, always need to observe your bee, know what, you know, kind of have an idea of what they're up to. Sometimes you have no idea. A lot of times, I have no idea. And the pollen, we like to see that coming in. Now, I've been keeping, like Michael said, I've been keeping a record of when I've seen the bees orientate. And you can begin seeing a buildup of them, you know. We began, I think, in January. We have, you know, and then as it progresses, January, you know, 18th, 19th, and so on, and we get to the point whereby we have orientation every day, day after day after day after day. So we begin seeing that, and so we're looking at, you know, you build up, and then you're looking at when they begin to slow down, and then which is vital and would be very helpful in the future. So like I think Michael suggested doing something like that if you have an opportunity to observe your hives. It is both just gold. It's both fantastic to do. And once again, they're gathering the pollen. Sunflowers. If you have sunflowers, you know, they will be on different plots. And we created a place for watering. They abandoned that spot now. They found, they liked another spot located someplace else. We're going to actually build something else later on in the plans. So, but I said, why not when you get out, you know, straight from the fountain? And this is one of our bees who would be on our little fountain where they gather. Even on a tarpolian, we found out that in the wintertime it's cold, and your tarpaulin or black plastic heats up. If there's a little bit of water in there, they will go to it. You know, and so we found out happening. This one, I have no idea what it is. And Miss D, maybe you can take and tell us what that is. But what's interesting is right here. B, no B? Unknown to me. But what was fascinating, it was there. And then it had that screen right along here. My wife thought it might have been a drone that had just made it or something as a possibility, but I have no idea. Yes,
If you could email me that picture,
yes.
I probably have someone.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, we could do that. And some of the blooms that we have in Florida that we do have. And they're all bee friendly, which is one thing that we love. This was a unique one because the bees actually go for that, and I'm thinking, that's different. They actually go, they bury themselves. They just bury themselves into it. Close up of a sunflower. And Arizona has puppies. We can grow them too. And that one's blossom. And this is a blackberry that's out there now, dewberries, and all kind of blueberries out there now. And different pops. And let's see. Yep, close up of the blueberries that's coming out, and other ones. So, and that's a purple passion, and they actually come up and the bees kind of like hang upside down to get stuff there. They just, the bees have to.
So have you noticed on those that have a prime preference for the blue or purple colour, and they almost leave the red one totally alone?
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. We don't touch the red, you know, and we do the blue. And it's springtime in Florida, and we are done there.
Good.
Appreciate it.